So we're back in the second part of the video now. I'll just tell you a short summary of how we selected these three teams that we did in the first part of the video. With Bangladesh, we preferred to take a lot of wicketkeeper batsmen because they were better than the pure batsmen, and we preferred to take Tatenda Taibu, who in general a better cricketer than the other pure batsmen that we know. And we made the Zimbabwe, Bangladesh, Afghanistan combined team. We included Rashid Khan from Afghanistan. With West Indies, we dropped a pace bowler because we didn't thought he was good. There was anyone good enough to be in that position, and we instead took an extra batsman with Craig Brathwaite as an opening batsman, and we took Devendra Bishwa as a specialist spinner as well. So Chris Gale is our fifth bowler for West Indies. And four genuine bowlers, along with which Devendra Bishwa is one, and genuine spinner, and Holder is the all-rounder. For Sri Lanka, we had to miss out on a lot of exciting, aggressive players like Tiraklathna Dilshan, Sanajay Surya, and Nirushan Dikwela, the wicket-keeper, then Hashan Tilakratne as well, the batsman. And we preferred taking a more trustworthy team, or team that can do well, especially in foreign conditions, but can also equally do well in home conditions. So now we're going to pick the South African team first. So let's move on to that. South Africa, New Zealand and Pakistan are the teams that we're going to pick today. So here we go. The interesting thing about the South African team is that though in the 21st century they've been a very strong team for a long period of time, but in the last few years, unfortunately, they've really lost the grip, and it's not because they don't have talented players. The one reason for that is that a lot of experienced players have retired and have gone away. Morne Morkel went away a few years back. Dale Steyn is out now. He obviously can't play. There is nothing he can do. He's old enough now. AB de Villiers retired a little too early, in my opinion. Then Hashim Amla is out as well, and even I think Fab du Plessis, though I think Fab du Plessis is not really in the same category of important players for South Africa, especially because he's been a disappointment in Test match cricket. He's been good in ODI cricket, but as a team player, I don't think, and as a captain, he's really been poor for South Africa. Anyways, but apart from these last few years, South Africa has been a very strong team in the 21st century, and probably if you collect the all-star team, they probably are the most strongest team in all of the. We'll see that comparison later in the final video, when we will have all the 9 teams in front of each other, so we can make comparisons and see for ourselves which team is stronger. So here we go. First we'll see the run scorers for South Africa in 21st century. Jack Callis, obviously the highest run scorer and a terrific all-rounder. Walks into any all-time 11, whether it's 21st century or all-time greatest Test 11 for South Africa, or all-time in general greatest Test 11 of all teams. Jack Callis is someone who really is one of the absolute legends of the game. So he is he's a batting option, and he's a fourth bowling option, the fourth seamer, which means we still need 5 batsmen apart from him, and we need 3 seamers as well. So Hashim Amla is my first choice, obviously, among the highest run scorers. Then there is Graham Smith, AB de Villiers. All 3 of them walk in with ease. Before that, I will just show you who the better opening batsmen were for South Africa in this period of the 21st century. So we select the opening options, and now the stats that we'll see are only of the batsmen as openers. So here we see Herschel Gibbs' numbers are really good, and that's, I think, is a surprising number, because I always thought Herschel Gibbs, because his overall numbers are a little bad, they're around 40-41, but it was because in the 20th century, in the later 20th century, in the 90s, late 90s, he was new to the team, and he wasn't really that much in good form, and he wasn't really finding his place the way he wanted to bat. He wasn't aggressive enough in the late 90s, and once he became aggressive, he really came into his own, and he became the batsman that he is, and he did really well in Test matches, Herschel Gibbs, as an opener. But you see his overall average is around 44 in Test matches in this period, but that means he batted in the middle order in 4 and 5, where it didn't really work for him, it means. So he's best suited to the opening batsman position. So we have Graeme Smith and Herschel Gibbs, and now you can notice Gary Kirsten's name down there. 17 test matches, 1,222 runs, an average of 42. So now Gary Kirsten is known to all of us as an opening batsman, but the fun part is, I'll show you now what the fun part is. Now, yes, 1,200 runs, averaging 42 as an opener. But the fun part is, you see there here, 2,700 runs, 52 is his batting average, and out of the he scored 10 centuries, out of which only 3 of them are as openers, so 7 centuries as a one-down batsman. Gary Kirsten really flourished in the last few years of his career as a one-down batsman, because Graeme Smith and Herschel Gibbs were used to open. Graeme Smith was new to the team, and he was already made the captain of the team at a very young age. And then Gary Kirsten had to move at one down, while people would have seen this as a demotion of some kind, but it really helped him become a better batsman for Gary Kirsten, and he scored more runs than ever. So he automatically becomes our third batsman. We see the other numbers are decent. Dean Algar averages a few. Faf du Plessis, whom I really hate, averages 40. But I would have still taken Faf du Plessis if his numbers were better. It doesn't matter that I hate him. Then there is Ashwell Prince, 41. Ashwell Prince was a good player. I think he did play the rescue. He was kind of a poor man's Shiv Chandra Paul, Ashwell Prince. Then there is Neil McKenzie, who also used to open in the last part of his career. So it's an easy choice that our third batsman has to be Gary Kirsten. So the 3 pure batsmen are Hashim Amla, A.B. de Villiers, and Gary Kirsten to bat in the middle order. Smith and Gibbs to open, and Jack Callis the all-rounder. The wicket-keeper, I think it's an easy choice. It's a default choice. Mark Boucher is the default choice. There is no much thinking about. There is no need to think about it much. We do know Quinton de Kock averages better, and we know overall that Quinton de Kock has better batting capabilities, and he's also a decent wicket-keeper. He's not necessarily a bad wicket-keeper, Quinton de Kock, but Mark Boucher is a legend of the game, and he has played 111 test matches in this period, and he was an exceptional batsman as well down the order, because anyways he's going to bat down the order. So if you're having a batsman to bat at 7 or 8, you don't necessarily need a front line batsman. So you can someone like Mark Boucher is just perfect at that position. So Mark Boucher gets in with ease. So we have 5 batsmen. We have Jack Callis the all-rounder, and we have Mark Boucher. We need 4 bowlers now. But we're going to see the all-rounder skill set. We'll just see the bowling skill set first, because in the all-rounder category you don't see the bowling strike rate, which is very important. So Dale Steyn is an easy choice, obviously the greatest fast bowler of the 21st century. I think that is not even a debatable thing to say. It's just a universal fact. Dale Steyn is the best fast bowler of the 21st century, and an arguable fact is that he is one of the greatest fast bowlers ever. And when I say one of the greatest fast bowlers ever, it means in the top 3 or top 5. So that good he is. His numbers are that good, and everyone in the cricketing world have really accepted this as a fact now, especially after his retired Dale Steyn, that he was one of the greatest ever. So he is a default choice, obviously. Kagiso Rabada, I think, is also the second default choice, though a last few matches that he has played in India, he wasn't really that good. He is losing his form, but I think he's still taken 200 odd wickets. And the defining factor in Kagiso Rabada and even Dale Steyn is the bowling strike rate. If you notice, this is Kagiso Rabada, who has 202 wickets, averaging 23, and his bowling strike rate is 41.7. And Dale Steyn's bowling strike rate is 42.3. Now, for bowlers who have taken more than 200 wickets, this is actually the first best bowling strike rate and the second best bowling strike rate. That's how good this bowling strike rates are. What it means is that Kagiso Rabada takes a wicket every 41.7th ball, and Dale Steyn takes a wicket every 42.3rd ball. After them, I think Waqar Younis is the another bowler who comes around them. And that is just exceptional. So that is one reason why Kagiso Rabada should also be a default choice, like Dale Steyn here. So they both are selected to be our 2 pacers. We need one more pacer now, and then we need a spin bowler. So the competition for that one pacer is a lot of competition is there. We can see Mackay Antony, though his bowling average is not that good, but he bowled for a longer period of time and he got a lot of 5 wicket hauls, and he was the working horse for South Africa in the 2000s especially. And he really was a great bowler, but he's in the competition. We'll see if he wins it or not. Then there is Morne Morkel, who has 309 wickets. Uh, the reason why Dale Steyn was so effective is one reason for that is also Morne Morkel, because on the other end there was Morne Morkel creating equal amount of pressure and making batsmen's life difficult. So he averages 27. His strike rate is slightly lesser, 53. He took a wicket every 53.3 ball. Then there is Vernon Philando, whose bowling average is exceptional. We know his bowling average is something that stands out. But unfortunately, I would say that his wicket to innings ratio is not uh, as good as what that 22 bowling average suggests. So what it means is that Vernon Philando mostly was effective in South African conditions as a wicket taker, but outside of South Africa, Vernon Philando was more of an economical bowler who doesn't give any loose balls, was difficult to get away, who could create pressure because of his economical bowling, and other bowlers would get more wickets. But in South Africa, he was an exceptional wicket taker. We know that. And anywhere where swing is being assisted, Vernon Philando was a wicket taker. So Morne Morkel, Makhaya, Vernon Philando, and now the big man, the most experienced man, Shaun Pollock. He in this 21st century didn't play a lot of test matches, as we can see. He's played lesser test matches than Philando, Morkel, and Makhaya. But these are still good numbers: 59 matches and 218 wickets. The bowling average is 25. The strike rate is a little on the badder side, we can say. But again, I'm considering this as someone there are already two wicket takers in this team. There's Dale Steyn and Kagiso Rabada. So what we need is experience. We need an all-round capability as a bowler, and we don't mind someone who can bat. So all of that will be considered. His batting caliber, Shaun Pollock's batting skills definitely will be considered, because in the later part of his career he was really good with the bat. Now you compare that to Vernon Philando, his batting is not really exceptional. He's just right about there to be suited as a number 8 batsman. He averages 24 with the bat. So we will see that in the all-rounder category now. Here we go. Wait. This is as per matches. I have to sort it by the number of wickets taken. It's already there. Come on. Okay. So Vernon Philando average is 24 and he scored 1007 runs. Now Pollock, you see that lesser matches than Vernon Philando, but a lot of more runs, 2179 runs, and that batting average is exceptional. Pollock still batted at number 8 or number 9 or number 7 at max, not ahead of that. But he still averaged so much, and he was a very aggressive opening batsman down the order, a very good finisher. And now you see he's bowling in context, and now it becomes a better combination and becomes a stronger combination than Vernon Philando or the two other specialist bowlers, which are Antini and Morkel, Makhaya and Morkel. So I think I would prefer experience here, also because Shaun Pollock, other numbers are not included in this list. What he did in the 20th century, in the 90s, that is not included here, and hence I think I'm gonna prefer Shaun Pollock, because I already have Kagiso Rabada and Dale Steyn as wicket takers. I have Jack Ellis as the fourth seamer. I need an all-round bowler who can also bat at 7 or 8. Shaun Pollock, I think, is perfect for that, and we also know how important he was to that South African team. So we're gonna write the team down now. We decided upon Graeme Smith as the opener, Herschel Gibbs to accompany him. Graeme Smith is also the default captain. There is just no debate about it. Cannot be a debate about it. Though I do think that Shaun Pollock was a good captain for South Africa. He did lead them for a while, up until Graeme Smith arrived and Hansie Cronje went away. So in that period he was a good captain, but unfortunately the 2003 World Cup loss is the big reason behind Shaun Pollock losing his captainship. They really were expected to do well, because at 1999 World Cup it didn't work out for them. Let's say it was unlucky for them, but in the 2003 World Cup they were hosting the World Cup, so there were more expectations, and they were eliminated in the first round itself. So that was a big debacle for South Africa and for Sean Pollock's career as a captain. Uh, and in fact, any normal cricketer would have just retired after that, maybe, or would have lost his form. But didn't Sean Pollock? Didn't he? Still played for over 5 years after that. He played in ODIs as well as in Test cricket. The one down batsman, there is a lot of competition, we know, but Carrie Kirsten is our choice because opening batsman turned one down batsman and was really doing well, scoring runs in abundance for South Africa. At number 4, you could have Jack Callis or you could have Hashim Amla, doesn't really matter. I'm going to take Jack Callis because somehow I see Jack Callis as more defensive than Hashim Amla. So Hashim Amla to bat at number 5 for me, and then AB de Villiers, obviously. At number 7, there is Mark Boucher and there is Sean Pollock. I'll go for Sean Pollock. He averages a little more than Boucher in this period. At number 7, we have Pollock and Mark Boucher is our number 8. And then the 3 bowlers. Okay, we didn't choose any spinner. Right, we have to see that. But Delstein and Kisar Rabada, I will write them down first. And then we'll go on to look at the numbers of the spin bowlers. Specifically, we can check only the stats of the spin bowler, right? So we will check that now. We know that this is the South African team and they're not really fond of spinners. They never really had a great spinner, so whatever we'll get, we have to be okay with it. Just like the West Indies team that we selected, we went with a slightly ordinary bowler, but in context he's a good bowler, Devendra Bishu. So we're gonna see who that is. So yeah, it's an obvious choice. It's just an obvious choice. Keshav Maharaj. Keshav Maharaj has been playing for the last 5 years now, and he has been doing well for South Africa. The only problem, he came to India and didn't do anywhere as good as what he normally would do. But he still has done well. 6-5 wicket hauls is just good. I think it's good. He has at least he takes 2 wickets every innings. You see that wicket to inning ratio. 120 wickets from 61 innings. It means he takes 2 wickets every innings. So that I think is very good. That's good for us for a young spin bowler. But he has to evolve. He has to get better, and that is the only way Keshav Maharaj can really become a great bowler, because we see that there is no one in South Africa in all these 21 years, or even before that in the 90s there wasn't anyone. There was Pat Simcox who pulled a little. He too wasn't that good. But surprisingly, when South Africa played long back before 1970s, in the 1940s, 50s, 60s, they did have good spinner. There was one spinner called Huck Tayfield, who was an off spinner, a classic off spinner, and his numbers are astonishing in Test cricket. If you see, he averages 25, he has taken around 160, 170 wickets. And even longer before that, there was an all-rounder called Aubry Faulkner, who was a leg spinning all-rounder, and he batted well. And he actually makes too many South African all-time Test teams. Aubry Faulkner as an all-rounder, he averaged 40, 42 as a batsman, and 26 as a bowler, and he played very few Test matches, 24 Test matches, but he got around 85 wickets in those Test matches, and he batted well. He was a proper top order batsman as well. So we know that South Africa does have a history of spin bowlers, it means, but in the recent past they haven't produced any great spinner. So Keshav Maharaj is what we have to do with, and I'm okay with it. I think Nicky Boye could have been preferred. If he was a little better with the ball, little better, because he averages 47 right now. If he averaged, let's say, 37 or 38, I would have preferred him, because he was also a batsman, so he would have given even more depth to this batting order. But since that 47 is just too bad, I'm gonna prefer Keshav Maharaj. We see Imran Tahir's numbers are also very bad in Test matches. Exceptional white ball spinner, but I don't know why it never worked for him in Test matches. JP Duminy, in fact, has bowled decently. As a part-time spinner, JP Duminy has done a decent job, but it's an easy job. It's an easy choice to make. Keshav Maharaj is an easy choice to make. So we'll go for him. 120 wickets for Keshav Maharaj. He becomes our spinner. So we are done with the South African team now. So here we go. Graham Smith is our captain, and a lot of batting depth to this team, a lot of aggressive players. And is this team a candidate for the best team in this out of all these teams that we're gonna pick. We'll know that later. But the only probable weak point of this team is a spinner. They don't have a great spinner, so that will be a defining factor in terms of deciding which team is better. So now we'll pick the next team. Thus we're done with South Africa, and the next team is uh, whom should we pick? Okay, Pakistan. We'll just go for Pakistan now. Here we go. Pakistan's 21st century hasn't been that great, unfortunately, especially because in the 80s, in the 90s, Pakistan was just extremely strong and destructive team in every way: batting, bowling, spin bowling, fast bowling, every way. They had legends after legends, but they didn't really keep up with that in the 21st century. Especially their seam bowling, they did have talented bowlers even in the 21st century. They had Mohammad Asif, Mohammad Amir, and all of that, but they didn't play enough. They had other issues or whatever it is. We know the controversies that happened. There were a few spin bowlers who did well in the 21st century, and they defined Pakistan for me in the 21st century. But anyways, there were a few good batters in test matches though. Yunus Khan, obviously the default choice, highest run scorer by a mile, by a distance, by a fair distance. He's the highest run scorer, and he averages 53, which is good, very good. In fact, 32 hundreds. Yunus Khan, and Yunus Khan did really well in foreign conditions as well, in Australia, in England, in South Africa. He did well, for a fact. So Yunus Khan is my default choice. Azer Ali is also a default choice. His average is 43, but Azer Ali has been considered here as an opening batsman, because the other opening batsman possibilities that we have, you see down there, are Mohammad Hafiz, he averages 37, and Tawfiq Umar, who also averages 37. So we have these two options, but to take one of them, we have to drop either Misbah-ul-Haq or Inzamam-ul-Haq or Muhammad Yusuf or Yunus Khan or Azer Ali. So we are not doing that. we are only taking when we are not taking any pure specialist opening batsman for Pakistan, because I don't see Mohammad Hafiz or Tawfiq Umar as great opening batsmen or even good opening batsmen. Mohammad Hafiz was a bowler as well, so he bowled a bit as a part-time all-rounder, but he was just part-time. He wasn't good enough to consider a genuine all-rounder. If Mohammad Hafiz was a genuine all-rounder and a better bowler than what he is, he could have been considered as an opening batsman option, because he then will be considered as a bowler as well. But purely as a batsman and someone who bowled a little bit of part-time, Hafiz is not that strong. So we are preferring Azer Ali to open, and then we have four batsmen who are Yunus Khan, Mohammad Yusuf, Misbah-ul-Haq, and Inzamam-ul-Haq. So that's an easy choice. Down there, if you see someone averages 42, who is that? Babar Azam. There's a guy called Babar Azam. You know him? Well, Babar Azam is yet to evolve into a great batsman. He's always compared with Virat Kohli and other the top four that we consider: Virat Kohli, Kane Williamson, Joe Root, and Steve Smith. These are the real top four, the Fab Four. And Babar Azam is always compared and is forced into that top four. While in white ball cricket, he is definitely good. But in test match cricket, he's yet to become a great batsman, Babar Azam. So these numbers are not going to help him to make it in this 11, or make me say that he's a great batsman. He's yet to become a great batsman. He's a terrific batsman. He has a great technique, but he's yet to become a great batsman. So we are done with our five batters. And now we will pick. My wicket-keeping batsman, I think, is also very simple. Sarfaraz Ahmed. Right now, he's been ignored. He doesn't get a place in the team. But I think over the years he has been decent. There has been a drop of form. There has been a drop of sincerity, as we could call it, and that was the real reason behind him being sacked as a captain and also as a player from the team. And then he did get a chance to come back, but he's not getting enough chances really. But I know that. But we do know that for a period of time, Sarfaraz Ahmed was a good wicket-keeping batsman, and probably was Pakistan's finest wicket-keeping batsman, who was good enough as a wicket-keeper, but was also very good as a batsman. There were other people like, say, Kamran Akmal, who were decent batters. Kamran Akmal was a decent batsman in both forms of the game, but he was a terrible wicket-keeper. We know that for a fact. Then there was Moin Khan, who was a good wicket-keeper. Rashid Latif, who was a good wicket-keeper. But they were not great as a batsman. They were not like top-order batsmen. They were more like a number 7, number 8 batsman, though Moin Khan's importance in ODI cricket, especially as a batsman, is really a lot. He used to win Pakistan a lot of matches down the order. But as a specialist batsman, they don't work. But Sarfaraz Ahmed is someone who can work in the top order and the middle order as well, in the middle order as a specialist batsman. So we are going to prefer Sarfaraz Ahmed as our wicket keeping batsman. So we have 6 players now, 5 batters and Sarfaraz Ahmed, and now we need 5 bowling options. And it's very difficult to make out. We have to look out for at least one all-rounder. So I will show you their batting skills first, and then we'll later see their bowling performances. Abdul Razak is one. We see that 38 is his batting average and 44 is his strike rate. Then there is Shahid Afridi, who played very few test matches, but surprisingly he did well as a batsman, and he did a lot better than what he did in ODIs. In ODIs only his strike rate was great, but he never had consistency. But in test matches you can see he averaged 40, strike rate was exceptionally 101, 400s, but again he didn't take himself seriously, he didn't play a lot of test matches. If he had taken himself seriously, probably he would have done something great in test matches. Probably would have done something that Sehwag did for India in more consistent way. And even as a bowler, Shahid Afridi didn't bowl much in test matches. So, but he is one of the all-rounder options there. Abdul Razak is one option. If you come down the order, who else is there as an all-rounder? No one really else. Fahim Ashraf has just started. He's played 9 test matches. He averages 38 with the bat. He has taken a few wickets, but he's yet to learn. Now we'll see the bowling options. We need 5 bowling options, as I told you. We're done with the 5 batters, and we're done with Sarfaraz Ahmed as the wicket keeper batsman. So here we go. Most number of wickets, Danish Kaneria has taken the most number of wickets for Pakistan, but his bowling average isn't up to the mark, and his strike rate is slightly better than the other 2 who follow him. The other 2 are Yasir Shah and Saeed Ajmal. And Yasir Shah, to people probably who don't know, Yasir Shah is actually Pakistan's greatest wicket-taking spin bowler. His wickets to inning ratio, which is 235 divided by 83, is actually the greatest by any Pakistani spinner. It is greater than Abdul Qadir, it is greater than Saqlain Mushtaq, it is greater than Saeed Ajmal, it is greater than Danish Kaneria, it is greater than anyone. So Yasir Shah is a very underrated bowler. The only problem is that, again, like we talked about Kagiso Rabada, in the last few years, Yasir Shah is losing his grip. He's losing his consistency as a bowler. He scored a century with the bat, but he's losing his consistency as a bowler maybe. But still, what he has done before that, it's phenomenal. So Yasir Shah and Saeed Ajmal are my 2 spinners. We need 5 bowling options, as I told you. And the max we can do is we can go only for 2 spinners. We can't go for 3 spinners. So even though Danish Kaneria looks good, he could have been taken as a 3rd bowler, but I'm not going to do that. Yasir Shah, Saeed Ajmal, perfect combination of a right arm spinner, off spinner, and a leg spinner. Umar Gul has played more matches, 47 test matches, 163 wickets, and his bowling average is 34, 4-5 wicket hauls, but I think he's really not that great enough to come in this 11. And I told you the problem with Pakistani seam attack. I think that Umar Gul could have become a greater bowler than what he is, or what these numbers suggest us. If they had sticked with him, if Pakistan had sticked with Umar Gul and he was ready to play more matches for Pakistan, something that we have seen Ishant Sharma now evolved into a great bowler. His bowling average used to be also around 36, 37, but now it is at 32, and over the period it's become India's an extremely important bowler, an extremely important player. Umar Gul had that capability. Umar Gul should have played for Pakistan for a longer period of time consistently, not being dropped from the team, and that would have been possible. And that has been the biggest problem for Pakistani fast bowlers in the 21st century. None of them have been made to play a lot, whatever the reasons are, or their individual reasons are, or the cricket board's reasons are, but they haven't been made to play consistently for Pakistan in any form of test or T20, whatever, but especially in test matches. So from whatever we have seen, Shoaib Akhtar comes into this team with these 31 matches, 133 wickets, a lot of wickets, that is. A terrific strike rate, we see 39.9. We talked about overall Shoaib Akhtar's strike rate is less than that. In the 90s, he was a little less effective in test matches. Not little less, he was a lot less effective. He averaged like 35 or something in test matches in the 90s. But then when he got rid of that waywardness that he had in the initial stage of his career, whatever few test matches in between, all those 31 test matches, they haven't been played consistently. It's been on and off for Shoaib Akhtar with controversies and injuries and all that. But he still did an exceptional job. 133 wickets and a bowling average of 22, strike rate of 39.9. That is exceptional. So Shoaib Akhtar is my first pacer. We have Yasir Shah and Saeed Ajmal as our two spinners. Still need two bowlers. There's Mohammad Amir now, who has 119 wickets, averages 30. A very bad strike rate, that is for a fast bowler. 64 is a terrible strike rate for Mohammad Amir, followed by Mohammad Assaf. So I think Mohammad Assaf is again an easy choice. One, because we know how talented he was, and other because there is no real competition to him. Umar Gul and Mohammad Amir are not really competition to Mohammad Assaf. So Mohammad Assaf also gets into this team along with Shoaib Akhtar. So Shoaib Akhtar, Mohammad Assaf, Saeed Ajmal, Yasir Shah, the four bowlers are done. Fifth bowler, we need an all-rounder. There is just no way out that we can have another bowler now to bat at number 7. We need someone who can bat at number 7 now. We could have gone for Shahid Afridi but I told you I'm not going for the third spinner. But again, we don't have that option because Shahid Afridi's bowling numbers are really bad in test matches. He didn't really bowl enough. You see that, where is he? Yeah, here we go. Shahid Afridi, 16 test matches, 28 wickets, bowling average of 40. That is just not good enough. Mohammad Hafiz, I told you, was a decent opening batsman, but not good enough to come into this team purely as an opening batsman. His numbers also as a bowler are not extraordinary. 1 4-wicket haul maybe, no 5-wicket haul, averaging 34, 53 wickets in 55 matches. Nothing exceptional. So we have to go for Abdul Zakha, as I told you. He was decent with the bat, and he bowled well, I think. Yeah, 34 matches, 79 wickets. At least the wicket tally is decent. His bowling average is also not exceptional, but he at least has 1 5-wicket haul, and he bowled in whatever matches he played. He did bowl and did play a role for Pakistan. And we know as a batsman, Abdul Razak is always trustworthy, whether it was aggression in T20 ODI cricket or a bit of resilience in Test cricket. And resilience in terms of Test cricket, Abdul Razak actually was a very resilient batsman, and that's why his strike rate is around 44 or something, and which will be surprising to people because we see him as an aggressive batsman. But in Test matches, he did have the capability to play longer time and to take a lot of time and save his team and save Test matches. So Abdul Razak at number 7 for saving Test matches, or if situation demands to attack, is capable of doing both those things. And 79 wickets from 34 matches, that is good enough to be the third seamer, where most of the bowling will be done by the two spinners and the two seamers. Abdul Razak will be the helping bowler, but he will be still seen as an all-rounder, and not just as a batsman who can bowl. It's still an all-rounder where situation demands him to bowl more, which is a seam-friendly wicket, a swing-friendly wicket. Abdul Razak will bowl more. Abdul Razak also used to do reverse swing, so I think that also comes into question, that if he's playing in Pakistan in drier wickets in subcontinent, reverse swing used to come into play, and Abdul Razak was a decent exponent of reverse swing. So we are done with the 11 now. We'll write it down. I told you we don't really have any specialist batsmen, but Azer Ali is as close we can get. He did open for Pakistan in few Test matches. He scored around more than 1,000 runs as an opening batsman, but his usual position is one down. We know Yunus Khan as well, his usual position is one down. So both one downs are opening for Pakistan, out of which Azer Ali has played as an opener. So now my one down is going to be Mohammad Yusuf. Then there is Inzamamul Haq. Then there is Misbahul Haq. Then is our wicketkeeper Sarfraz Ahmed, followed by Abdul Razak, and the bowlers that we talked about: Yasir Shah, Shahid Ajmal, Shoaib Akhtar, and Mohammad Assaf. So I think it's a balanced team that we're always trying to pick, that we're all trying to pick for all the teams that we are making. So we have Mohammad Asif, who's a good swing bowler. Shoaib Akhtar had pace. Abdul Razak was a fast medium bowler who did have a bit of swing, and we know how great Yasir Shah and Saeed Ajmal both were as spin bowlers. So the captain of the team, Inzamamul Haq, is a is one choice. Misbah-ul-Haq is the other choice. But I don't know why. But I think I prefer Misbah-ul-Haq because somehow, though whatever the scenario is, Pakistan did do well under Misbah-ul-Haq. They were doing well in Test match cricket under Misbah-ul-Haq, and they didn't have exceptional batsmen apart from Yunus Khan. Mohammad Yusuf had already retired. Inzamam-ul-Haq had retired. Only Yunus Khan was the only real good batsman in that unit, and Misbah-ul-Haq himself. And there were good spinners. There was Saeed Ajmal, but there was no real consistent seam bowler. So even without greatly performing players under Misbah-ul-Haq, Pakistan was doing well in Test match cricket. So which suggests there is something that he brought to the table as a captain. So I think I'm preferring him over Inzamam-ul-Haq, and I think I want Inzamam-ul-Haq to have the freedom to bat as he wants in the middle order, and he's the most prestigious batsman in this team. So we're done with Pakistan, and now we are done. We are making the last team for this video. We'll make the other three teams remaining, which are England, Australia, and India later. We're making the New Zealand team now. We'll go the other way this time. We'll select the bowlers first, and then we'll go for the batters. So here we go. First choice, Tim Southee, 309 wickets. Exceptional swing bowler. He's getting better in these last few years. Tim Southee has got better. There was a point where Trent Bolt was ahead of him, and as a swing bowler and as a fast bowler. But Southee has got better in the last few years. So Tim Southee, Trent Bolt, both of them get in with these. So does Neil Wagner. So all three of them, they're already playing for New Zealand. And Neil Wagner, in my opinion, though, is a greater bowler than both Bolt and Southee. You see, the bowling average is different, but it's not just about the bowling average. Even his wickets to inning ratio is different, and the kind of bowler that he is, Neil Wagner is very, very different. It's very unique. So if I'm making an all-time Test 11 for New Zealand, I would prefer Neil Wagner ahead of Tim Southee and Trent Bolt. You see, he's better in bowling average. He has a better strike rate than Bolt and Southee, and he has a better wickets to inning ratio than Bolt and Southee. But more than anything else, he didn't require conditions. He just makes conditions irrelevant to his bowling. He can bowl swing bowling if he wants. We saw in the recent Test match at Lords, he did bowl as a swing bowler, especially because there was no Trent Bolt in the team. So he had to do that job of a swing bowler. But he can do that, but he normally doesn't do that. Normally bowls with an older ball, and he bowls bouncers, and he bowls aggressively, bowls yorkers and bouncers, and he bowls closer to the body and line and length, doesn't give room to the batsman, and he makes batsman's life difficult. And even all of that without a lot of pace. He does that without a lot of pace. He just bowls in mid 130s at max, not more than that. So Neil Wagner, Southee and Bolt, all three of them are my selected bowlers. And also is the fastest bowler for New Zealand and a legend, in my opinion. Didn't play a lot of matches, but still a legend, Shane Bond. 18 matches, 87 wickets, bowling average of 22, and the finest strike rate ever of the 21st century and of the 20th century, in fact. Shane Bond has the finest bowling strike rate in the whole 120 years that I've been through. Only two bowlers have better strike rate than Shane Bond, who played in the 19th century, who played in 1880s or 1890s, something like that, had a better bowling strike rate than him. Apart from that, everyone has Shane Bond is greater than everyone. So that suggests you why he should be in. So 4 genuine fast bowlers. I think this is probably the finest fast bowling unit in this 21st century, with Wagner, Bolt, Southee and Shane Bond, and especially because how different they are. Tim Southee is a traditional out swing bowler. Trent Bolt is a left-hand swing bowler who's also fast, is more quick. And then there is Neil Wagner, where I told you how different he is. And there is Shane Bond, who's a tear away fast bowler. So such a versatile fast bowling unit. And Daniel Vittori, obvious choice, the spin bowler and the all-rounder. So the thing is that we would have normally gone for another all-rounder. Jacob Oram could have been one. He's bowled a little, he's batted well, he's scored a few runs at the batting average of 36 or something. There is Chris Gaines, who played very few test matches in this period, 13 test matches, 47 wickets, bowling average of 30. But we see that the competition of these four fast bowlers is just, they just can't compete with these four fast bowlers. So while there are other all round options where we can increase the batting depth of the team, we can have Vittori at 8 and someone as an all rounder at 6 or 7, like Chris Gaines or Jacob Oram or even Colin de Grandhomme. But I think it's the greatness of these four fast bowlers is just unmatchables, and we don't need another batsman now for that. Also, because Tim Southee is a good enough number 8, I think, in a traditional way, where number 8s are supposed to be bowlers who can bat rather than all rounders. So I'm going to take that risk of that the batting order is not that deep, but I'm doing that because these are exceptional fast bowlers who just cannot be ignored. So four fast bowlers: Southee Bolt, Wagner and Shane Bond, and Daniel Vittori, the spinner. And now we'll pick the batsman. Before that, I think let's see the numbers as a designated wicketkeeper for New Zealand, because I want to clear a few things, probably because Brendan McCullum would have been everyone's choice as a default wicketkeeper. But you see the difference here. Brendan McCullum averages 34 as a default wicketkeeper. He didn't played a lot of test matches in his last period as a wicketkeeper, and BJ Watling had arrived, and before BJ Watling other wicketkeepers were doing that job, and he played few test matches and he scored few runs as a wicketkeeper. Mostly Brendan McCullum is more of a top order one down batsman. That's where he really became what he became at the end of his career. I remember that 300 that he scored against India, that was as a top order batsman. So BJ Watling is my wicketkeeper batsman, and now we have the five bowlers, and that includes Daniel Vittori, which is an all-rounder and a spinner. We have five bowlers. We have a wicketkeeper batsman, that is BJ Watling, and now we need only five batters to complete this team. And we know the obvious choices here. Ross Taylor, averages 45, has played around 106 matches. Kane Williamson, obvious choice, and also Brendan McCullum, obvious choice as a pure batsman. Tom Latham, obvious choice as an opening batsman. Four of them were done. Now the question is about the fifth batsman. Let's say who are the competition here. Stephen Fleming is in competition, averages 44. Then there is Mark Richardson, who used to be an opening batsman, and he was one of the most defensive opening batsmen that I've ever seen in my life. Mark Richardson, you see his batting strike rate was 37. That is slowish. That is the slowest strike rate for someone who has scored this many runs, who scored more than 2,000 runs. But imagine how slow he used to bat, and how how much defensive he was. Really, I mean, that is just a little too much, I would say. And he never scored big. 145 is his highest score. So Tom Latham is similar, but Tom Latham can accelerate when it requires. So I think that's how a great opening batsman should be. That he should be a defensive. His default state should be defensive, but there should be occasions where he should be able to be aggressive, and especially to extend his batting score. When he's settled in and he's played for a long time, he scored 70, 80, and now he has to take the next step and score at a better rate and help the team. So I think Tom Latham is just better than Mark Richardson. It's a default way. But we were speaking about the fifth batting spot. So Stephen Fleming, one. Henry Nicholls is another. Henry Nicholls has been really good in recent times for New Zealand. His last knock against England at Lords, I think, was really good. He showed a lot of grit, and then he also showed that he's capable to attack after that. So there are a few options. Nathan Astle is also an option. His average is less, and his 222. Who remembers that 222? That's one of the most classiest knock I've seen in Test cricket in the 21st century. 222 against England, I think, in Auckland. It was in Auckland. It was one of the cleanest hitting I've ever seen in Test match cricket. So he could be considered, maybe or not, I don't know. But I think Stephen Fleming is an easy choice again as the number 5th batsman. 44 is his batting average, 274 is his highest score, 700s. Was always a very responsible player for New Zealand. So that's it. We're done with the 11 and we'll just write it down now. Tom Latham is our opening batsman. The other opening batsman options are Stephen Fleming is didn't really open for New Zealand a lot. In fact, uh, so we can check that out if you want. Let's just check that out. Let's check the opening batters for you to get an idea who opened and how much. So here we go. Tom Latham. Then there is Mark Richardson, obviously. And you see that Brendan McCullum has good numbers as an opening batsman. 2004 to 2014. Uh, Brendan McCullum is my opening batsman. I want to go for an aggressive opening batsman here. Uh, Instead of Mark Richardson, who is just highly defensive. And Stephen Fleming, you see, didn't open much. Stephen Fleming, he played only 7 test matches as an opener, averaged 33. Kane Williamson, we know, doesn't open. He has the capability to open. So the preferable opening batsman out of the batsmen that we have selected is Brendan McCullum. So Tom Latham and Brendan McCullum should be our opening pair. Followed by Kane Williamson. We can have Kane Williamson at 2 down instead, and have Stephen Fleming at 1 down, because that's where Stephen Fleming batted most of his career. Again, Williamson, I think, is a very obvious captain for New Zealand. I think he is universally New Zealand's greatest captain and their greatest batsman, but not the greatest cricketer, though I do believe. I feel that the greatest cricketer was Richard Hadlee, and he still is Richard Hadlee. He was a fast bowling all-rounder and exceptional record as a bowler, and probably one of the greatest bowlers ever. Purely seen as a bowler, he was one of the greatest bowlers ever. And then his batting was in bonus. So he I think is the greatest New Zealand cricketer. Kane Williamson is the second greatest cricketer, we can say. Ross Taylor at number 5 again. Then we have BJ Watling, the wicketkeeper. Daniel Vittori at number 7. And then the 4 fast bowlers that we mentioned. Tim Southee, Trent Boult, Shane Bond, and Neil Wagner. So that is it. Comparatively, maybe I would said that they have a lesser batting order, but if you compare now to the Pakistani team has Yasir Shah at number 8. So compared to that, Tim Southee is a much greater number 8. So they don't really have a problem at all. There is no real batting depth problems as well. Having Vittori at 7, I think, is deep enough. It's a very strong New Zealand team and probably one of the strongest competents. I would say they are the best bowling unit from what we have seen so far. In terms of pace bowling and also in terms of the spinner that they have. Daniel Vittori is not necessarily a legendary spinner, but he is a great player overall for what he brings to the table. And the conditions in which he mostly played, his home condition in New Zealand or in Australia and England, which are not necessarily spin friendly wickets. Especially New Zealand is definitely not a spin friendly wicket. Australia, we can say it is a spin friendly wicket in certain conditions, but New Zealand definitely isn't a spin friendly wicket, and England also to some extent it is a spin friendly wicket in the later part of the day of the test match. But doing that, in Vittori did that in New Zealand in his home ground. He still averages 34, which is respectable for a spinner, which is good for a spinner, I would say. For spinner who has taken so many wickets, it's good. It's a good average to have, and especially who's an all-rounder who bats and who saves matches with his batting as well down the order. So I think this is a very strong team, this New Zealand team. You see the other bowling, the South African unit is very strong as well in bowling department. They have Dale Steyn and Rabada and Pollock and Callis as a supportive bowler, and Keshav Maharaj. But the difference between South Africa and New Zealand, I think, is the spinner, Keshav Maharaj and Vittori. Vittori's experience and his capability to do well for a longer period of time, that overpowers. I think from so far from what we have seen, I do believe that the New Zealand bowling unit is the strongest. But we have yet to see the English, Australian and the Indian team. So we can say so far New Zealand has the strongest bowling unit. Who do you think has the strongest batting unit? It could be Sri Lanka, it could be, but I think it's South Africa. It is South Africa. because there's Jack Callis and Amla and De Villiers and Graham Smith as well, and they bat deep with Pollock and Boucher. So I think South Africa is the strongest batting unit so far, and New Zealand is the strongest bowling unit. So we'll meet again with the final part of this series. So till then, take care.